Mm. What is going on, guys, and welcome to Bootstrap tutorial. And in this video we're going to do something really interesting. We're actually going to be adding a forms in our navbar when we're collapsing, and we're also going to create over here this list that has a drop down menu. So this is what happens if we have a smaller screen, right? That if we press over here this button, we're going to see this form over here. But if we go over here to a bigger screen, you can see that the form is actually going to be over here, and we can click submit, and over here this is the drop down menu, right? And you can see that these are going to be located to the left, and this is going to be located to the right. So this is going to be real interesting because we're going to be adding a lot of things that we learned actually in our nav bars. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to delete this, what we did, so we can start fresh. And obviously the first thing what we need to do is we're going to create a nav, and we're going to say that nav would have a class, and the class is going to be navbar and navbar default, right? We can do the inverse if we want to. Maybe that's what we should do. I'm going to say inverse just for sake that it would actually appear a little bit differently. And now obviously we're going to create a div, and the div is going to have a class, and the class is going to be obviously container fluid, right? And now everything what we're going to be doing, we're going to be placing within this container fluid. And the first thing that we want to do is actually create a div, and we want to create a div that has a class of navbar header over here like this. And within that header, the first thing we're going to create is this collapse button, right? So here we're going to say that this is going to be button, and the type is going to be a button over here like this. And I'm going to say that this is going to be button, and the class over here is going to be navbar toggle over here like this. And here we're going to say that data toggle over here is going to be collapse, and here we're going to say the data target is going to be our ID. And again, I'm just going to say that this is going to be my my navbar. That's going to be my name of my ID. So it's going to be data target here like this, and we're going to say that this is going to be my navbar. So it's going to be my navbar. So now we're pretty much done with the button. The only thing is we would need to add a couple of those lines, right? So the way we would do that, we would create a span, and we would say that the span would have a class over here of icon bar, and over here we're just going to close it out, and obviously we can select the whole line, and we can just paste it, right? So now we have our little button. Now it's not doing anything yet, right? Because we haven't created a div that would actually hold all this information. And in this case, it's also going to be forms. But over here, what we're going to do is we're going to create a href, and we're going to give it a hashtag over here. But we're going to say that this is going to have a class over here. And the class obviously is going to be a navbar brand, right? So I'm going to say navbar brand over here like this. And over here, we're just going to write, I don't know, a title or something like this. This is I guess going to be something good. However, you can see that I've done a mistake, right? I made a mistake over here. I'm just going to cut this because I actually placed it within the button, right? So I'm just going to paste it over here, and I can see how my title is actually appearing over here. So now we're pretty much done with a header over here like this. This is going to be our header. Now we want to actually create a div that would be holding all our information. So I'm going to say over here div, and I'm going to say class, and it's going to be collapse, and it's going to be navbar collapse, right? Navbar collapse over here. And then we're going to have to create an ID, and I'm going to say that the ID is going to be my navbar. And over here, we're going to create a div that would actually hold all the information. And the first thing that we want to do is actually create a unordered list. And we're going to say that this is going to have a class and of navbar nav over here. However, we need to add nav over here in the beginning. So it's navbar nav. And now we're going to create a couple of list items. And the first list item we're going to create, we're going to just say that this is going to be, let's say, home. So I'm going to say li, and it's going to be class, and it's going to be class of active over here like this. And here we're just going to say that this is going to be a link, href over here, and we're going to say that the link is going to have a, let's say we're going to say that this is going to be home, right? And what else we would want to do? We actually would want to, let's say, paste it. In this case, we're not going to say that this is going to be active. We're just going to say that this is going to be, let's say, just a regular link like this. And now if we press over here this button, right, this is where we have our home and link. And obviously if we just go back over here and we make this screen bigger, you can see also over here how it is appearing. Now let's go back and let's actually keep adding some more stuff. And what we want to do is actually we want to create over here the form, right? Because this is what we learned how we create in the last video, how to create forms. So let's go over here and let's continue with that. And here I'm just going to say that this is going to be form over here, and it's going to have a class, and the class is going to be a navbar form over here like this. And we're just going to specifically say that this is going to be navbar left, right? And after that, we're going to create, again, these divs. And I'm going to say that this div is going to have a class of form group, right? So this is going to be form group over here like this. And we're just going to keep it like a regular input text, right? So I'm going to say input type. This is going to be text here. And then I'm going to say that this is going to have a class of form control over here, and we're just going to say that this we're going to have a placeholder, and the placeholder is going to say, let's say, search, right? So we're going to say placeholder, and we're just going to say that this is going to say search over here like this. So now we close this input over here, and now we have our first form, right? But what I want to do is actually over here also add another thing right in this form, and we're just going to say that this is going to be a button, and the type is going to be a, let's say, type is going to be submit over here, and we're just going to say that this is going to have a class over here, and this is going to be button, and again button danger here like this, and we're just going to write this is submit. Right, so now we have our form. Now the key over here, you can see that if I'm placing these two in a form, they actually fit very nicely, right? We don't need to add this navbar button class, right? So before we had a problem, if we were just working with buttons, we needed to add this button navbar. In this case, we don't need to do that. You can see how nicely they actually fit right in. And what I want to do over here, I just want to add these two, let's say, links all the way to the right, and just add some icons to them, right? And the way we do that, again, we can see that where we're working with our unordered list, and now after the form, we're just going to create a unordered list like this. We're going to say class, and the class is going to be navbar nav, but we're just going to say that this is going to be navbar right. Okay, so now we have navbar right, and now we're just going to create a couple of more list items. And over here, I'm just going to say that this is going to have a list item, and this is going to have a href over here like this, and we're just going to give it a hashtag. And here we're just going to say that this again, I guess we're just going to have a, let's say, sub menu, right? This is going to be a sub menu. And over here, we're just going to create our drop down. So again, we're going to create a list item. In this case, I'm going to give it a class of drop down over here. And over here, we're going to create a link, and we're going to say that this link has href. And obviously this is again going to be a hashtag, but here we say a class is going to be dropdown toggle, or here like this, drop down toggle. This is going to be our link, and now we need to close it out our link. However, we need to add a couple of more classes, right? And within the link, I'm just going to say that this is going to be a dropdown. Right, so I'm going to say drop down menu, right? So we have sub menu, and this is going to be drop down menu. Now let's add right away a span. We're going to give it a class of array, or here like this. So we close it out. Now you can see that this is going to be our drop down. Now what we need to do over here is data toggle, right? This is going to be our other attribute, data toggle, and that one we want to set it equal to drop down, right? This is what we needed to do. And now the only thing left to do is actually add this unordered list, right? So we go over here, we're working with this list item, right, with this drop down, and we just create a unordered list with class of drop down menu, or here like this. And after that, we're just going to create a couple of list items, right? And again, we're just gonna, I don't know, let's do something like 4. Over here we have list item, and over here is gonna be href. So it's gonna be a hashtag, and over here we're gonna say, I don't know, link 1, right? And we're just gonna paste this. So I'm just gonna select the whole line and just paste 4 times. Now you can see what happens. If I press it over here, I have my links, right? So it's pretty nice and neat, right? We have forms, we have stuff lined left and right, and we have used the drop down menu that we actually learned. We actually have used over here this collapse. So now that we're working on the smaller screen, we can just collapse and then just create more drop down menus if we want. We actually placed over here these forms. Again, we lined them up left and right. We have this title. So you can see how easy it is actually to work in the Bootstrap. Now, another key thing that I actually want to show you is that let's imagine over here, right, that I would just delete this, right? Let's just delete this. Let me show you a little trick what you can do actually, that when you're working in the brackets, right? What you can do over here, if we have our extensions, right? And it's going to be loading as always, like forever, and we have these installed. You can see over here I have these ACB Bootstrap snippets, and actually I have done a video on that in my Bootstraps extensions, right? However, if we have this extension installed, right, and then I close over here, and the only thing that I would need to write over here is BS3, and you can see that right now it basically means Bootstrap 3. And now I have these options, right? But if I keep writing and I say navbar, now I can see what kind of options I have. Well, first of all, I have a navbar basic, right? So this would be our most basic navbar that we're working in, right? Very basic, very simple. However, if I go back and I just say BS3 navbar, you can see all the other options I have. And actually over here, we have this under responsive one, right? We have a static top, we have text. However, under this responsive one, if we press it, see what happens, right? We have exactly the same that we actually created. So this is actually a very nice way how if you want to save your time, right? You can actually work like this. And the only thing is if we want to make it black, we'll just find it where is our navbar, right? Where is the div? Where is it located, right? And navbar default, and instead of that we'll just write over here inverse. Let's say inverse. That's it. Now it's black, and obviously we can change the button the same way, right? So this would be a very actually easy way how we can save time if we're using these brackets extension, the Bootstrap ACB snippets. This is going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video.